The Galactic Naval Academy's lecture hall buzzed with the chittering, humming, and clicking of a dozen different species as Captain Marcus Chen entered for his first day teaching tactical studies. The human instructor could feel the skeptical gazes of his students, young cadets from across the galaxy who had heard whispers about the strange rituals and primitive customs of Earth's military forces. "Today we'll discuss unconventional warfare tactics," Marcus announced, his voice carrying clearly through the translation matrices. "But first I'd like to share some human military traditions." A Zephyrian cadet's tentacles writhed in what Marcus recognized as barely contained laughter. "Professor Chen," the aquatic being gurgled, "surely we're here to learn advanced combat strategies, not folklore." Marcus smiled. "Humor me, Cadet Veltar." He began with seemingly simple concepts: the human tradition of leaving no one behind, the practice of honoring fallen comrades, the ritual of sharing meals before battle. The crystalline hegemony representative, Cadet Quartzine, vibrated with dismissive frequency. "These emotional attachments are inefficient. Logic dictates that survival is paramount," Marcus finished. "Yes, most species think that way. Humans, we're different." The Academy's elite students, top 1% from each member species, exchanged glances that clearly communicated their shared opinion. Humans were sentimental fools who had somehow stumbled into spaceflight. 3 months later, everything changed. The training vessel Concordia, carrying these same cadets on their final examination cruise, received a distress signal from the outer rim. The research station Kepler 442 had gone dark after reporting strange energy readings. Against protocol, the ship's AI captain decided this would be an excellent real-world test. They emerged from hyperspace to find Kepler 442 surrounded by ships of unknown configuration, sleek, predatory vessels that immediately opened fire. The Concordia's shields flared and died under the assault of weapons that seemed to ignore conventional defenses. "Boarding pods incoming," the ship's tactical officer announced as metallic projectiles slammed into the hull. "Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. In the chaos that followed, Marcus found himself separated from the main group, leading a mixed squad of cadets through the ship's ventilation systems. Cadet Veltar's tentacles trembled with fear. "We should surrender. Calculate survival odds through negotiation." "No," Marcus said firmly, checking his sidearm. "First human tradition. We don't leave our people behind. The engineering crew is trapped on Deck 9. "Illogical," Quartzine buzzed. "Rescue mission decreases overall survival probability by 23.7%. Marcus was already moving. "Follow me or don't." They followed. The invaders, later identified as the Devourers, a species that consumed other sapient beings for sustenance, had already cornered the engineering team. Marcus assessed the situation. 12 hostiles, all heavily armed, holding 15 prisoners. "New plan," he whispered to his squad. "We're going to do something completely illogical." What followed violated every tactical doctrine taught at the Academy. Instead of a calculated assault or strategic withdrawal, Marcus led a frontal charge while singing, an old human battle hymn. The cadets stared in shock as their instructor bellowed the Marine's hymn at the top of his lungs while firing his weapon. The Devourers, accustomed to prey that either fled in terror or fought with cold calculation, hesitated for a crucial second. They had never encountered beings who charged toward certain death while making ritual noise. That hesitation was enough. Inspired by Marcus's seemingly insane courage, the cadets joined the assault. Veltar's aquatic physiology allowed him to short-circuit the enemy weapons with his conducting fluids. Quartzine used his crystalline structure to deflect energy beams back at their sources. But it was Cadet Thorn, a young Vulpinian whose species prized individual survival above all else, who truly understood. As Marcus fell, wounded by enemy fire but still singing, Thorn made a decision that defied millions of years of evolution. Instead of fleeing, he threw himself over his wounded instructor. "Why?" Quartzine demanded later, as they tended to the injured in the recovered engineering section. Thorn's ears flattened against his skull. "He taught us something my species never learned. Sometimes the illogical choice is the right choice. Sometimes you fight not because you can win, but because losing while fighting is better than surviving through cowardice." The battle for the Concordia lasted 8 hours. By any logical calculation, they should have lost. outgunned, outnumbered, facing an enemy with superior technology. But the Devourers had never fought humans before, had never faced an enemy that became more dangerous when cornered, that fought harder for their comrades than for themselves. The human traditions that the Academy had mocked became their salvation. The practice of sharing rations meant no one starved during the siege. The ritual of honoring the dead meant they recovered every fallen comrade, denying the Devourers additional sustenance. Most importantly, the tradition of never leaving anyone behind meant they kept fighting when any rational species would have surrendered. When rescue arrived, they found something unprecedented: a defeated Devourer fleet and a ship full of young officers who had learned the most important lesson of their careers. At the victory ceremony, Admiral Zextai of the Galactic Fleet addressed the survivors. Today we witnessed something remarkable. Not superior technology or tactics, but the power of what humans call spirit. Marcus, his arm in a regeneration brace, stood as the various species representatives approached him with formal requests. They wanted human advisors, human training programs, human traditions integrated into their military doctrines. "Professor," Veltar gurgled respectfully, "would you teach us more of these inefficient strategies?" Marcus looked out at the faces, tentacled, crystalline, furred, and scaled, all showing the same expression of newfound respect. "The first lesson," he said, "is understanding that some things are worth more than survival. Some things are worth dying for. When you truly believe that, you become very hard to kill." The Academy never laughed at human traditions again. They learned instead to fear what they didn't understand. A species crazy enough to charge into certain death while singing, and somehow win. In the end, the galaxy's most logical minds discovered that the most illogical species might just be its greatest teachers.